Welcome to Olds Mob 455. We're going to be starting at the top, just because that's what I like doing, is finishing one project and working my way down. You know, it seems like the natural progression to start at the top, like you're washing a car and work your way down. We want to eliminate this thing because it just breaks up all the lines of the vehicle, and it's a leaking source, and he doesn't like it either. So it's going to be a big job to remove this, make a patch, fill it, body work, and prime it. Yeah, you don't want your glass getting all peppered with metal beads from the welding sparks. That's really a drag. I've seen guys that do that, and they're just grinding, and sparks will go into glass. When you go to buy a car and somebody's got an aftermarket sunroof in it, usually they take them to a place that's a detail shop or a company that puts wheels and tires on and stuff. And these guys get a little template and they saw the hole in here. Half these screws aren't even biting into anything. We gotta push them through. It's just a very poor install. You're gonna get a leak from day one. It just makes the car worth less, I think.
So we're not even unscrewing them, we're just pulling them straight out.
That's bull.
Taking her out one-handed here. Whoa, Nelly. I think we'll go ahead and install this in this AMX right here.
No way. Oh yeah, this reinforcement has been taken out. So we got to make another brace going across that's going to be, like a little strip, and then try to make a little bit of a contour. You'd get a little strip of metal and sand it on this side, sand it on this side, so it's like a crown, and it'll hold shape to a dome. He's trying to bridge this gap. I think he used a hot glue gun. I don't know what he thought that was going to do. Well, these cars have these T-slots, and these are missing now. And when you put your headliner in, there were bows that were plastic that sewed right to this perforated, whatever material they made it out of, I forgot. And in my car, I didn't like that look. So I wanted to get like a crushed velour. I'd take the bows and the guy measures it and everything. I'd take it to this custom detail shop. And somehow my vision and his idea clashed. And when I come to pick it up, it looked like the inside of a coffin. It was red velvet and it looked so freaking weird. And he's telling me how much it was, like $150 at the time. And he goes, I got a lot of work in this. I go, this just is not what I was envisioning. Well, you said crushed velvet. And I go, man, I didn't think they even made this stuff anymore. It looked like the inside of a coffin. The area where these went, there was two sections that have these T-slots. And if you don't have them, and you go to put your headliner up, they would just sag down. It was a great idea for production. They could just hammer them up. They didn't have bows you had to feed through and get the thing taut. You just put these T-slots in there, pulled it, and it was tight. And then you glued it up along the edge, and then the plastic pieces went over it and held it. It was real fast. We're going to have to cut a piece of sheet metal, make these T-slots, and then we're going to have to weld them going across so you got something to hold your headliner up. We got some metal, and it's kind of thick. And we decided to just run what you brung. It's gonna be hard to work with, but we're gonna use this as a pattern, and you can see how much it overlays, okay? So we're gonna lay that on there, draw the pattern, cut the metal, and then we'll slide it under here first, and then by grabbing it with a hand up above and below and get it back in here and get it all centered and tack it. Then when we have these low spots, well, we're gonna still fill this in, but we'll be welding from inside the car, welding up, and then we'll get our shape. Are using metal that's thicker than what you would use. We're trying to protect stuff from getting welding sparks on it, so we made a patch that's bigger, fitted in from underneath. Now, as he welds, the panel will be below, and he'll be welding right here, and then there's going to be Bondo over it. But if we welded it like this, it's really hard to get your patch perfectly fit, and then you blow through once in a while. This will make it a lot easier. A lap weld, it's called. Now I'm going to be pushing up, and hopefully with him pushing down, me pushing up, it will build its own crown into the metal. Like I said, we don't have any kind of way to put like a stress in the sheet metal. I kind of bent it, but it didn't. I didn't want to put a kink in it. So I just tried to make a little curve to it. Hopefully, after it's all welded, it'll have its own strength. From previous work what the guy did before, he had Bondo way all around here. The thing must not have fit properly, and then he peened this all down. You can see all these dimpled dies, you know, and then over in that corner also. And then it was stretched so that this is up too high. This has got to come down about like that. So it's a sweeping curve. Then this metal's got to come up. But then once it's tack welded, we can lift these up, because this has all been damaged. You know, we don't want a lake of Bondo here. We want to do it with just a skim coat this thick. And then it should hold up. If it gets really ratty, we can always put a padded vinyl top on it, and then it would cover everything up. That's what the auto manufacturers did when they had screwed up roofs. They could cover it with vinyl. My buddy had one, and he wanted the vinyl roof taken off, and the Bondo was this thick. something happened and it was never painted before, so it was the original paint. Something must have dropped on it. They didn't even try to pound it out, they just filled it like this thick. There was a big dent in the hood, and the Bondo was like probably right to the headliner. So with these rivets, you stick them in the gun. This is like a big arc welder. You slide this in. All body shops have these. There's a lot of places that have reinforcement behind them, and then you can't get a hammer and a dolly behind it to pound it out. So you got to come from the outside, and you're going to have to suck it out with this slide hammer that you tighten up on the rivet and you pull it out. Some of them are really fancy, and they have like a washer with a hole. And let's say if you got a whole crease going down the side of your car, you just put a whole bunch of rivets on there, and then you put this bridge across it, and as you tighten it down, it pulls them all out at one time. You can get a big dinger out. Those are nice, but we can do that by just welding them to a washer and sticking like a screwdriver through there and pulling up on it. This is extra thick metal here. You just hold it down. So as I clam this up, it's going to pull a dent out. You see, sometimes one guy is tapping up and the other guy are just holding up, and he can be hitting high spots. Because every time you get a dinger, there's a dent, but that dent caused a bulge on the outside. So if you're holding up and you just tap the high spots down, then you can kind of level out that dinger with a rise. So you don't want a bunch of little peaks. We're trying to work it out. So he's already just barely, what we were trying to do with a hammer and dolly and get up underneath it was impossible, and just with a few little taps like this, it's really worked nice. Two taps up. Most of them only took like 2 taps, and you start working it around, and it just relaxed all that metal. Sometimes we held up on it and tapped the high point around here. We got this all wedged up now, and you'll need to hold this down a little when we weld it, and then just keep on jumping around, and it's going to be a thin skim coat of Bondo, and it'll be done.